It has been an immensely stressful, hard, and difficult 6 days for the Giants. 4 games and 2 off days, but at long last, the Giants have finally won their first game of the 2026 season with a big 3-2 win over the Padres at Petco Park. There's no beating around the bush here. The Giants were swept by the Yankees to open the season at Oracle Park. It was a brutal opening to the 2026 season for the Giants. They didn't score a single run in each of their first 2 games. They combined for 4 hits. On Saturday, they finally scored a run and actually got 9 hits, but they wasted 3 massive opportunities and grounded into 4 double plays. So the Giants were swept by the Yankees, and they had to make what was a very long flight. And by long, I don't mean time-wise long, but what certainly felt like a very long flight down to San Diego to play a Padres team that, well, they may be no 1927 Yankees, but they're still a good team nevertheless. Now, the Padres aren't exactly in the greatest of straits. They have a clubhouse that has been spoiled by 2 mega prima donnas and Fernando Tatis and Manny Machado. They are now on their 4th manager in the last 7 years. This is the Giants used to hire new managers every even year, or the Giants used to win world championships every even year. The Padres are now hiring new managers every even year. Jay Stingler managed them 2020 and 2021. Bob Melvin 2022 and 2023. Mike Schilt 2024 and last year. And now, well, Craig Stammen is managing the Padres this year. They lost 2 of 3, winning their final game against the Tigers in their opening series. And the Giants would be up against them tonight with Landen Roupp on the mound. And the Giants, their pitching is a massive Achilles heel. But their bullpen has gotten off to a pretty damn good start. Tyler Mahle had a solid 4-inning performance, giving up 2 runs against the Yankees Saturday through 80 pitches. And with his recent injury history over the last 2 years, it was very understandable that Tony Vitello did not want to extend him past the 4th inning. Tonight, Landen Roupp would take the ball against Walker Buehler. And right away, the Giants, they would show their offensive doldrums early on. Willie Adames, who finally got his first hit of the season in his final at bat Saturday before being pinch ran for by Jared Oliva. He singles to lead off the game. And then Rafael Devers grounds into a 4-6-3 double play. Well, Landen Roupp gets off to a nice start, throwing a 1-2-3 inning in the bottom of the first. He gives up a base hit to Sander Bogaerts with 1 out in the bottom of the second, but gets out of it. Top of the third, Harrison Bader leads off the inning with a home run to left field. The first home run and the first lead for the Giants this season. And just their second run scored in the season. Roupp threw another 1-2-3 inning in the bottom of the third, top of the fourth. Luis Arias grounds out. Matt Chapman singles up the middle to center field. Jung-Hoo Lee draws a walk. Harrison Bader hits into an infield fly, so it's up to Patrick Bailey, who is hitless on the season. Well, he singles the other way to left field to get Chapman in. Nice opposite field base hit, manufacturing the run, 2-0 Giants. Up comes Casey Schmidt, also hitless on the season. He grounds a base hit to left field. Lee scores. It's 3-0 Giants. And how about Landen Roupp tonight? He ends up going 6 innings, just 2 hits, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. He threw 88 pitches. The Giants bullpen continued their really solid start. Matt Gage with a 1-2-3 inning in the bottom of the 7th inning. Keaton Winn, he came in for the bottom of the 8th. He threw a 1-2-3 inning, but it was a little more stressful than he would have liked. And I mentioned that because he got a quick 0-2 on Bryce Johnson with his filthy splitter. He had just some nasty movement on his splitter tonight. But Johnson worked the count full to 3-2. He finally gets Johnson to strike out swinging, and he showed some emotion coming off the field. And then came Ryan Walker in the 9th. Of course, Ryan Walker earned the closer's job after a disastrous season from Camille Duvall in 2024. He started last year as the closer, had struggles, and then a nightmare week towards the end of April, which resulted in him losing his job to Duvall Doval was traded. Randy Rodriguez takes over as closer. Randy Rodriguez goes down with Tommy John surgery. Ryan Walker is the closer again, and he certainly struggled down the stretch. Blew a crucial save in St. Louis on September the 6th. Lost that game. Lost the game to the Diamondbacks. A crucial game at Chase Field on September the 16th. So he's into the game. And he walks Jake Cronenworth on 4 pitches. Here we go. Here we go again. He does get Fernando Tatis to strike out on a foul tip, though he had to throw 5 pitches. He threw a couple of nasty sliders to Tatis in that at-bat. He gets Manny Machado to ground out to first. And then Jackson Merrill hits a towering 2-run blast to right field to make it 3-2. And now it gets scary. Xander Bogaerts, who's a dangerous hitter in his own right, he comes to the plate and he grounds out to short. Willy Adames throws him out. And at long last, the Giants finally have their first win of the 2026 season. Good to see the offense manufacture a couple runs in the 4th inning. Good to see the Giants' rotation and bullpen making me eat some crow early on in the season. I hope for some more crow, particularly medium rare. But Ryan Walker, just to put it bluntly, somebody else needs to be the closer. Perhaps Jose Butto, perhaps Matt Gage, perhaps even Eric Miller. But not Ryan Walker. The Giants made a couple of moves today. One of them is they acquired a relief pitcher in Dylan Smith from the Tigers for cash. Guy can throw in the 90s. He's reporting to Sacramento, and since he's going to Sacramento, Tyler Fitzgerald has been designated for assignment. The Giants then traded Luis Matos, who had been designated for assignment because he was out of options and did not make the team out of spring training, to the Brewers for cash. But Dylan Smith, maybe perhaps he's someone to give a look-see. He's 25 years old. He can throw heat. Maybe he's someone we can get a look at. But Ryan Walker, he is not a closer. It is as plain and simple as that. He's got good stuff. He's a good late-inning reliever, but he is not a closer under any circumstances. And Kyle Foster of Napa Sports News is here in the comments, says it perfectly. Ryan Walker scares the Jesus out of me. Feels like Benitez. Well, not as bad as Armando Benitez, but he certainly scares the hell out of all of us. And somebody else needs to be the closer. Just thank God they were able to win that game, because if they would have blown that game and lost, which was certainly a possibility, then I don't know what to say. The Giants finally get their first win of the season. Is there anything else of notable importance from this game that I want to talk about? There were a lot of ball and strike calls tonight that I think could have been challenged, but were not, which I'm okay saying that, to be honest, because I hate ABS, and I want to make clear a 2-inch buffer zone is an extremely reasonable compromise. Dan Iasanya did an interview with MLB Network in 2022 in which he said when he was brought up in 1999, they were being taught that calling balls and strikes was an art and not a science. Dale Scott, in his book, The Umpire is Out, talked about how umpiring is an art. Calling balls and strikes in particular is not meant to be anal. And anyone who understands the game of baseball, and by anyone who understands the game, I don't mean Rob Manfred and the corporate hacks in the commissioner's office, and I don't mean the sports fans who love all sports and just who baseball is another sport. I mean people like myself who understand and have a feel for the game of baseball. That when it comes to balls and strikes, with the way the ball moves with different pitches and different speeds, balls and strikes are not meant to be anal. Pitches 2 inches off the zone are very hittable. That is why a 2-inch buffer zone where all calls are upheld is an extremely reasonable temporary compromise while we work towards a permanent solution, which is using it to basically correct the egregiously missed calls. I've talked about before how I would do it, where if a hitter challenge or a catcher challenges it, they do the hat, and then you can display it on the scoreboard for the umpire to look at and think, okay, is that a hittable pitch or not? Okay, I don't think that was a hittable pitch. I'll call it a ball. But umpires also need to tamp down on things like the snagging. There was a called third strike. I think it was in the 6th or 7th inning where Bailey snagged it, and it was clearly low, and I was thrilled. It was a win-win for me because the strike 3 call wasn't being challenged, and as a Giants fan, of course I'm going to take it, but I'm thinking, Lance Barksdale played umpire, really good umpire. Why are you calling that? He snagged it. And if I was commissioner, I'm telling umpires, if a guy is snagging it and telling every single person on God's green earth that the pitch was a ball, I don't care if it's right down Broadway, ball it. And in my ABS challenge system, it's right down the middle. The catcher's an idiot and snags it to the moon. The catcher taps his head, and then the umpire can say, hey, when you're snagging it like that, you're telling me it's a ball. I don't care where it is. I'm upholding it. So do you want to use your challenge now or not? And then the catcher can say, okay. And the umpire can say, good. All right, play ball. That's how ABS should be done. Calling balls and strikes is an art. And what was so sickening was hearing Anthony Rizzo on the Netflix pregame on Wednesday saying, oh, hitters won't have to protect with 2 strikes tomorrow. Yep. Less good baseball. As I mentioned last night, when hitters have to protect with 2 strikes, which a 2-inch buffer zone will make them have to do, that leads to better baseball. It leads to more fun and exciting baseball. But when you make the strike zone small and uniform, you're just going to have the more robotic and sterile 3 true outcomes baseball that has plagued our great game over the last 8 years of home runs, walks, and strikeouts. And oh my God, you should have seen the amount of strikeouts over the weekend. A bunch of guys had hat tricks over the weekend. Of course, we saw Aaron Judge take the golden sombrero in the opener last Wednesday. I think Willie Adames may have had a hat trick at some point over the weekend. A lot of guys throughout the league were having hat tricks. There were some games in which like 2 or 3 guys a team were having hat tricks. And if we make the strike zone this anal and this to a T, you're going to have that increase, and the game's going to become more boring and more unwatchable. That's just a fact. I'm not doing this to be the old man yelling at clouds or just to be oppositional or to be the contrarian. I'm saying it as Jackson Cobles here. Jackson, how are you, sir? On the Facebook side. I'm saying that because when you have that brand of baseball where everyone's trying to hit home runs and they're taking these clownish launch angle swings where they dip their bat down, the barrel dump, and you have con men like Richard Schenk, aka Teacher Man 1986, teaching this shit, and you got guys dumping the barrel and twisting their elbows and throwing out their backs, taking swings. More often than not, they're going to swing right through it, and it's not very fun baseball to watch. And having the strike zone being called to a T is just going to increase that. What Dan Iasonia said, I can't really show the interview because it's MLB Network, and I'm broadcasting this to YouTube and Twitter and Facebook, and I could get docked for it. But watch the interview. It's about like 4 minutes, 45 seconds through the interview, and he talks about how he was taught that it was an art and how it was taught to do things like keep the game moving along. Look at Greg Maddux. Look at finesse guys who had just nasty movement on their pitches. They would nibble on the outside corner, and they would get those strike calls. And Greg Maddux is one of the greatest pitchers who ever lived. In today's game, I'm not sure he makes it past Double-A. When you have a ball moving and you have different types of pitches and different types of speed, different types of movements, it is not meant to be anal. Watch Dan Iasonia's interview on MLB Network. Read Dale Scott's book. It tells you all about it. So it is nice. It was nice to see the 2 teams not really challenging pitches tonight. That was really, and it may be because both teams challenged pitches in the top of the, I think it was the top of the 3rd, and both the teams, the calls were confirmed. Patrick Bailey challenged a ball call in the bottom of the ninth, and that was confirmed. So the Giants lost their second challenge. But a 2-inch buffer zone is an extremely reasonable temporary compromise while we work towards a system that I mentioned where the batter or the two challenges a game, batter, pitcher, catcher challenges it. It shows on the scoreboard and it gives the umpire a look of like, okay, was this pitch hittable? Should this pitch have been a strike? And I do think umpires, when the catchers are snagging it and telling the entire universe in every dimension out there that the pitch was a ball, the pitch should be called a ball. And if I'm the commissioner, I'm telling umpires that. If guys are snagging it, ball it. That shit shouldn't be happening. Umpires in my association have told me, when catchers are snagging it like that, they're going to ball it. And unless I'm trying to get a game in. Now, in high school, like when you have teams with guys throwing wild pitches or you have a blowout, that's one thing. But if I'm not trying to get a game in, I'm going to ball that every time. There's no reason to be doing that. And again, as I talked about last night, when catchers are snagging pitches and thinking they're strikes, then why are you snagging it if you think the pitch is actually a strike? The point of pitch framing is to make pitches that clearly aren't strikes look like strikes. And you're taking the ball from literally low to high. Snag! Yes, Jackson Coble, the high-level pattern. And I know you're kind of from that age, Jackson, but like Richard Schenck and a lot of these gurus who teach kids that shit are con men. And it's sad that a lot of baseball players are disregarding people like Will Clark and Jeff Fry, who are actual major league hitters. Will Clark, a career 300 hitter. Jeff Fry, a career 291 hitter who hit 300, I think, a couple of times. And are listening to these gurus who have never even played an organized professional baseball. And it makes the game unwatchable. What really is, and I've talked ad nauseum about this, is a lot of young players, they grew up trying to hit home runs. And they carried that through Little League, through travel ball, through high school, through college, through the minors, and now into the majors. They love hitting home runs. You have a lot of players who are, let's be honest, they're selfish. They care about their own stats more than their team. And they love hitting home runs. It's good to see the Giants finally manufacturing one. For whatever reason, the Giants were just hitting the ball to all fields in spring training. When I saw my first game against the Rangers back on March 7th, during batting practice, the Giants were bunting and were specifically lining the ball the other way. And then for whatever reason, when they broke camp a week ago, everyone started trying to lift. And it's like, what the hell is going on? I went back and watched the end of the game on Friday between the Giants and the Yankees, and I saw Jung-Hoo Lee in the dugout, like, doing this. Like, what the hell's going on here? Even during batting practice on Saturday, I saw Luis Arias trying to hit shit out of the park. Like, what's going on here? And it was really nice to see them actually manufacture a couple runs in the second inning tonight. That's the way this team needs to play, especially with how weak, or at least how weak on paper, our pitching staff appears. This offense cannot afford too many prolonged slumps. We need more innings like we had in the fourth inning. And I mentioned on my show last night, Adames has been off to a really rough start. Jung-Hoo Lee's been off to a really rough start. Matt Chapman, Harrison Bader's even been off to a rough start, particularly Patrick Bailey and Casey Schmidt. And it was cool that Bailey and Schmidt got their first hits back-to-back to knock in runs. That was really cool. But we need these guys to start swinging the bat. If these guys can start swinging the bat and can start consistently getting guys on, moving them over, and getting them in, they will be one of the most formidable offenses in all of baseball. And as Will Clark told me when I interviewed him back on March 13th, you're going to have that kind of baseball. And unfortunately, ABS does nothing to help that. By having a 2-inch buffer zone, and again, pitches 2 inches off the plate, all directions, outside, inside, up, and down, are hittable. And hitters do need to learn to protect with 2 strikes, because Jeff Fry said you don't just want to have a B swing. You want to have a C swing, a D swing, even an E swing. Good hitters have a bunch of different types of swings that they can use for different pitches, different speeds, different movements, different counts, etc. And the more you put the ball in play, the more action you have. That was Rob Manfred's complaint. Not enough home runs, not enough action. Well, you're going to actually have more action when people are putting the ball in play and not trying to hit everything out. And teams like the Giants are going to win more games when they're putting the ball in play and not trying to hit everything out. And it just makes a lot of just the way the game is played and the way the game is taught today makes no sense. Like, why are catchers being taught to show everyone in the universe that the pitch was a ball? Why are they being taught to do that on pitches they actually think are strikes? Why did the Giants, who were consistently playing station-to-station baseball throughout spring training, in the hot, dry desert era in Arizona, go back to cold and foggy San Francisco and start trying to hit everything out? That makes absolutely no sense to me. Like, what the hell happened last week? And look, I get it. A lot of teams and players are very jumpy on opening day. They want to get off to a good start. And, Tony Vitello, I think maybe he's a little too intense. I know, the pot calling the kettle black. But I just don't understand why the Giants suddenly were going into home run mode. And yes, Harrison Bader got lucky and hit one out tonight, but good to see them manufacture a pair of runs in the fourth inning. And there's nothing wrong with home runs. There's nothing wrong with guys like Willie Adames and Rafael Devers hitting balls out. These are 30 home run a year guys. Matt Chapman can hit 20 a year. But these guys, every single one of them has to make an adjustment with 2 strikes when they are in big situations. Adames failed miserably at doing that in the opening series against the Yankees. And it cost him big time. It's the reason why the Giants were unable to score against the Yankees in the first inning last Wednesday against Max Fried. Elliot Ramos is a good 2-strike hitter. He had a great at-bat against Will Warren on Saturday, but they got him to go up the ladder on the high fastball, Reggie Sanders style. And he was just, nothing that could be done about it. But yeah, it is encouraging to see Patrick Bailey lining a 2-out base hit the other way to left field. It is encouraging seeing Casey Schmidt hitting one on the ground into left field for a base hit. That is the way this Giants team is meant to play. You have a couple power guys, a couple semi-quasi sluggers, and Willie Adames and Rafael Devers. Elliot Ramos and Matt Chapman can hit 20 a year, but for the most part, they need to be playing station to station. And if they can do what they were doing in the fourth inning and do that consistently throughout the season, then yes, this team could finish over 500. And maybe if they can get hot at the right time and have all the chips fall in place and get lucky, win upwards of 86 to 89 games and sneak in the back door of that third wild card spot into the playoffs. I will say this, tonight's win definitely made me feel a lot better. It really did. I mean, the first 3 games it didn't change my overall outlook of the season, but they were concerning. Tonight's game made me feel a lot better. And I think Tony Vitello, he's got to feel really good having his first win finally out of the way. And I get where Tony is coming from. He's used to the 50, 60 game sprint of the college season. He's got to get accustomed to life in the big leagues and the 162 game grind, the marathon. He's really done nothing wrong. I don't like that he likes to make a lot of pitching changes, but strategically, I think he's fine. I had no problem with him not bunting Bader, and the reason I didn't want him to bunt Bader on Saturday was because I had absolutely no faith in Patrick Bailey behind him, but if the Giants had put Luis Matos on the opening day roster, he would have been the perfect man to pinch hit for Patrick Bailey in that situation. And I feel like trading Matos to the Brewers America Family Field's a live ballpark. I feel like the Giants are really going to regret this one. Matos is a good contact hitter. I'm not saying he's an all-star, but he's a solid ball player. He's a solid hitter. And I'm really hoping Drew Gilbert can get it going because he's a really solid guy who has the potential to hit 300. I want guys on this team who can hit for contact, they can hit for 300 and don't strike out much. I hate strikeouts. And when you play in a ballpark like Oracle Park, you can't be trying to hit everything out of the park. And as we saw, Damon Bruce in 2009 said it, that with the historically great Giants pitching that they had at the time, and Tim Lincecum and Matt Cain and Jonathan Sanchez, all they needed was a 1980s Cardinals-like offense. And they got that. And they won 3 championships in 5 years with that kind of offense. It was the magic formula. Pitching, defense, small ball, station to station, and speed. And I might be eating some crow this year on the pitching. You actually look at the stats of guys like Tyler Mahle and Adrian Hauser. Mahle and Hauser both had great springs. Both of them can have seasons with the ERAs under 4. And that's in parks that are not Oracle Park. I feel like these are not consistently great pitchers, and both of them have had years that are not good. But as Sam Lubman, 95, the producer of the Morning Roast, Monday through Friday, 6 to 10 a.m. on 95.7 The Game, has said he feels like these guys are not bad, and I'm talking about not just the back end of the rotation, guys like Mahle, Hauser, Landen Roupp, and then the bullpen, Matt Gage, Keaton, Winn, Jose Budo, Eric Miller. They're question marks. They're not exactly the best. Bruce McGowan, my friend Bruce McGowan on a Facebook post said it perfectly. You have a lot of journeymen in the bullpen. They're question marks. They're not the best pitchers. And they are the type of pitchers where they could collectively have a really good year and things could go right and could lead their team to, somewhere in the neighborhood of 85 to 90 wins. This is not the kind of pitching staff that you want to rely on year after year, but maybe I will eat crow and it will work out and get to the Giants to the playoffs here in 2026. It's a long fucking season. You never know. I do really like what I'm seeing from this bullpen. I really like what I saw tonight from Landen Roupp. I actually thought Tyler Mahle had a really solid start against the Yankees on Saturday. And we're going to see Adrian Hauser tomorrow night. Adrian Hauser against the former Rocky, German Marquez. Let's see if Adrian Hauser can keep it going. And someone I was talking to in the press box was also telling me, like, hey, I think Mahle and Hauser could have sneaky good years. Had this loud and obnoxious, disgruntled baseball lifer could be proven dead wrong. And again, these are not the best players. These are best pitchers. These are pitchers who definitely can and have had bad seasons. But perhaps things will work out for them. And the good start from guys, and the solid first start from Mahle, the great first start tonight by Landen Roupp, and the really solid start by the bullpen, that has all been very encouraging. Kyle asks, isn't it Logan Webb tomorrow? I think it's Mahle, though I could be wrong. I thought Mahle was going to go tonight. And then Tony went to, no, I lied. It's Logan Webb. So when will we see Adrian Hauser? That's interesting. Why aren't we seeing Adrian Hauser? Okay, it is Logan Webb. I lied. I assumed because, starting rotations are 5 pitchers, and tomorrow's the 5th game, and Adrian Hauser didn't go tonight, that we'd see Adrian Hauser tomorrow. When is Adrian Hauser going to pitch? That's what I want to know. Kyle, do you have any idea when Adrian Hauser would pitch? And I get it. Maybe perhaps we'll see Hauser on... Hauser's going Wednesday? Okay. And I get it. There's been 2 days off since Logan Webb's start. You don't want to make him wait an entire week. Okay, so it's basically Hauser's going to become the de facto number 2 starter. Okay. So Webb, Hauser, Ray, Mahle, Roupp. All right. But we need to find another closer. Maybe perhaps Dylan Smith will get a look-see at him when he goes to AAA. I'm going to, the River Cats are in town next week. I may try to make it to a River Cats game next week, though I'm going to be pretty busy. Maybe next Thursday, I'll try and sneak over to Sutter Health Park to see the River Cats. I want to see Drew Gilbert. I want to see Bryce Eldridge. And yes, people, why is Bryce Eldridge? Guys, baseball is very mental. And guys need to mentally prepare for going up to the big leagues. And another major problem with a lot of these nerd-run organizations is they're rushing guys to the big leagues and they're having them learn on the fly. And you're not supposed to learn on the fly in the big leagues. You're not supposed to be in the big leagues as a full-time guy until you are truly mentally prepared. Now, like what the Giants did in 2009 and September of 2009 with Buster, what they did in September of last year with Eldridge, getting him a cup of coffee in the final 2 weeks of the season, that's fine. And as Kyle said, Gilbert and Eldridge will be up this season. And the guy I really want up and who I really wish they would have had on the team is Jesus Rodriguez. He is so talented. He hits 300. He hits for contact and power, and he doesn't strike out much. And he can play all positions. He can catch, he can play third, he can play second, he can play the outfield. I really want to see Jesus Rodriguez on this team. And Drew Gilbert, another guy who can hit 300, hits for contact, doesn't strike out, also great defender. But I think Eldridge, Gilbert, and Rodriguez could all make big impacts when they finally get called up later this year. I'm not thrilled with having Gerard Encarnacion on the roster. And I have nothing against the guy, but he's a power guy. I'm just not sure he's the kind of guy who fits in with what this team's trying to do. I'd love to see a little more Jared Olive. I'm hoping that Will Brennan, who had a really sneaky good spring training, can see some time with the Giants this year. But again, the three guys I'm really looking forward to seeing are Eldridge, Drew Gilbert, and Jesus Rodriguez. And maybe even perhaps Blake Tidwell. I know he was sidelined by an injury right after he came over from the Mets last year. Yeah, I know. I'm a little jumpy tonight. I'm kind of relieved to finally see the Giants win a game. And I did say these first 2 weeks were not going to be pretty. Don't be surprised if they're 3-10 after the Phillies series. But you never know. You win 2 out of 3 in San Diego. Offense starts swinging the bats. Maybe perhaps they're 7-6 after next Wednesday. And boy, will I truly be wrong. And that's the thing. Baseball's the kind of game which I have tried to predict so many times over the last 24 years, and you just can't do that. As much as you want it, you just can't do it. Anything can happen in baseball. And you can't predict it. You just have to sit back and watch what happens. So, Logan Webb against German Marquez tomorrow. We will see Adrian Hauser on Wednesday. And I'm hoping, let's talk about Logan Webb before we wrap things up. Logan Webb had a very rough go of things in his opening start against the Yankees last Wednesday. Had a 1-2-3 inning to start the top of the first inning to start things off. You're thinking he's going to have a great night. And he actually went on to strike out Aaron Judge 3 times. But the Yankees just torched him for 5 runs in the top of the second. He gave up 2 more runs, 7 on the night, 6 of them earned, and he was just shaky throughout his final 4 innings. Kyle, how do you expect Logan Webb will do tomorrow night? I feel like he'll settle down and have a much better outing. But I'm not going to lie, I'm a little nervous. I mean, having him shit the bed like that on opening day definitely wasn't a fun sight. And, you don't want him to have a rough season, which good pitchers like him can do. Guys like that, even the best of them can have rough seasons. So we'll see how he does tomorrow night, and then we'll see Adrian Hauser make his Giants debut Wednesday afternoon. All right. For Kyle Foster of Napa Sports News, for Jackson Coble on the Facebook side, for my boss, Lee Leonard, because the Insomniac Lunatic Fringe is a production of Sports Radio Service. I am Steven Ruderman. This has been your Insomniac Lunatic Fringe Giants post-game show. As Kyle says, Webb will bounce back. It's one outing. On opening day, this stuff happens. But yes, I worry if the WBC hurt him. That definitely can happen. Thanks for listening to my rants and musings tonight. Have a good night, and I will talk to you soon. Giants finally win their first game of the year. 3-2 the final. Giants and Padres will go back at it again tomorrow night. First pitch at 6:40. Have a good night, folks. I'll talk.